Hello there. Have you ever looked at Bugs Bunny and wondered what life would be like if nothing bothered you? Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, Bugs Bunny goes about his business and it's just like water off a duck's back. My old mentor used to say, like Teflon, nothing sticks. Bugs just goes around and lives his life and just is not bothered by anything. Well, I believe this is possible for our lives too. And I think this is where we are moving as we begin to recognize, identify, understand our innate technology. As we begin to integrate and understand how everything fits together, our body, our brain, and our spirit. And so I want to talk a little bit about some of the steps towards this freedom, which I'm working on in my own life. And I believe that you're probably working on something similar, to be free of these cycles of suffering where everything in the external world seems to affect you. And just before I go into it, we know that as the human experience unfolds, we're here to experience contrast or duality. This is initially how we learn, evolve, transform, and grow through the process of polarity, light and dark, right and wrong, good and evil. You get the idea. And so we go through these experiences to expand, negative and positive. And through this, we grow and we shine up like diamonds and we become more resilient. But we don't have to live that way. Once we become aware that there is another way of being in this duality, polarity-based world, but within a space of unified field, meaning there is no polarity, there is no experience of extremes anymore. We can move through this life while we're still in the human body without being exposed, or we'll continue to be exposed, but without being affected by the extremes in our duality, in our dual world. And so how do we do that? Well, first we need to recognize that we've been allowing the external world, which is really a projection of what we have created unconsciously up until now, we've been allowing the external world to affect us. And so we are at effect rather than recognizing that we're at cause, or we're the creators of every experience in our personal world. And so first we have to recognize, this is the first step, we have to recognize we are the creators of our own experience. Mind over matter. See, everything is a direct reflection of our inner world. And so we have to remember this principle that the mind is all. And this is the first Hermetic principle. The mind creates the external world around us. But the mind shouldn't be in charge. The mind is a tool, a technology that creates the external world. But how do we actually feed that information to the mind? It comes up through the heart. We know the heart has an electromagnetic field around it that is up to 5,000 times stronger than around the mind, around the brain. So we have to learn to move down into this powerful part of us that will actually create far more attunement to flow, or to ease and abundance, to making the right step in each moment without using our monkey mind to feel safe or in control. So the first step, recognizing you're creating in every single moment. So when we realize that everything in our external world is a direct reflection of our inner world, how harmonious or disharmonious our inner world is, then we need to recognize that we can no longer judge, criticize, or blame anything in the external world. Because as long as we're doing that, we are at effect. We are not in control, and we're not receiving a direct stream of intuition, guidance, wisdom, and intelligence from being in our hearts. We're up in our heads. When we're at effect, we're in our heads. We're in constant fight, flight, freeze, survival mode. And we're basically running on autopilot from our subconscious mind. So we need to stop judging, blaming, and criticizing the external world. Because that's just like, imagine this, that's like looking in the mirror and blaming the image that you see for everything in your experience. That's pretty much the same thing. See, everything outside of us is a projection, a mirror of what's inside. I think I've made a fine point on that. So we need to stop projecting this self-pity, which is the victim kind of mentality. You know, the woe is me, look at my poor life. As long as you feel that way, you're going to keep the cycles of suffering going round and round. So they are there for a reason. Everything in your external world is there to teach you something. And the happiest people in this world know this. They know this. They use every adverse or negative or disempowering or provocative or triggering experience in the outside world in their lives. They use it to see what the mirror is within themselves, what is being projected, what is the disharmony within themselves that is causing this projection and this external manifestation. And when you start to see those patterns in your life where you constantly have the same kind of, let's say, traumatic romantic relationship or problematic relationships with friends, or the same kind of issues with a job or career, when they keep coming round and round, you've always got that same complaint. Here it comes again. You can be sure that you are missing the lesson, the hidden gem that is a direct reflection of the disharmony within you. You're missing it completely. And you're missing it so much that you're blaming and criticizing and judging it as just being an annoyance and not seeing the gift within it. So it's just going to keep coming around. And what you'll find is these patterns will get worse and worse the further you ignore them, the longer you ignore them in your lives. That knock on the door will get louder and louder and louder. Wake up, wake up. There's something within you that's out of harmony. Wake up. There's a shadow you need to look at. There's a covert program that doesn't work for you. Have a look within. Stop blaming and judging and criticizing the outside world. It's never going to change if you think that you have to change that reflection of you in the mirror. Never going to change, okay? So what I would suggest is, if you're finding that there's someone or something or a pattern in your life that is problematic, it's usually about relationships, then you need to equilibrate that. You need to recognize where this is inside of you. And so you can do that very simply. I often get people to write down, to brainstorm all the things they don't like in someone that's bothering them. Huge list sometimes. And then I get someone to brainstorm all the things they like in someone that they do identify as someone they look up to. They brainstorm that. And then what I ask them is, do you see these same traits from both lists within you in some area of your life? Because you cannot recognize and identify a trait in someone else out there if you didn't already have it within your own experience in your life. Because everything is a direct reflection of what is within you. So this exercise of equilibrating is going to show you that you cannot blame the external world. You cannot blame someone in their life, in your life, for coming around constantly. It might be in different people, but the same issue keeps coming up for you. It's not them. It's you. It's something within you that's out of harmony, that needs attention. And so we need to realize that when you learn to love and fully accept yourself, no more judging, no more criticizing, and no more putting yourself down, because that's essentially what we do. When we blame someone, there's three fingers pointing back at us. We are our own harshest critic. We need to stop doing that, because only love will enable us to release that shadow. Love heals all wounds. And that's not just a cliche quote. It's true. You know it when you try it, when you do this in your own life. And you'll begin to finally let go of all of these energies or entities or shadows or whatever you want to call them that have been stuck in your programming all of these years, that keep bringing around the same circumstances and problems in your life, same challenges. Okay, so you have to face them from within. We do not try and change the external world. The external world is a direct manifestation of your energies. Because we know, science has shown that waves collapse into particles, or energy collapses into solid matter when you observe it. So when you are feeling and observing and focusing on an energy outside of you, you're going to create more of that in your life, round and round and round. So we need to heal that by going within and loving and accepting that part of us. You are taking back responsibility when you do this, and that is so powerful. You need to recognize you are the driver of this human experience. And when you learn to love yourself, you're moving into your heart, which is your internal guidance system, your GPS, to navigate this life. You're not supposed to navigate this life from up here. You'll never have the intuition, the wisdom, and the intelligence and the guidance that you can get from divine source when you're in your heart. You receive inspiration, and we know that word comes from the word spirit, when you're in your heart. And these are the only steps we should be taking, inspired actions in our lives, not running away from suffering because we're blaming and criticizing and externalizing our problems. So your cycle of suffering will end one day, maybe gradually, as you journey through this process of becoming conscious to this process, becoming conscious to the fact that you are creating in every moment with your thoughts, mind. Your thoughts are manifesting your reality because you're observing something. Are you going to be observing love, or are you going to observe fear and insecurity and blame? So it starts with energy. We want to move down into our hearts, and I talk about this all the time, but it's becoming very clear in science as it's able to quantify what's going on here and measure what's going on energetically. We see the heart is our GPS. If you want to live a life where you can let go of all of that control, and I'm talking about control out of fear, that I have to cross every T, dot every I, or I will die. And I know that's extreme, but that's how we feel when we think that we're in complete control of everything. And if we forget or overlook one thing, we're in trouble. Can you imagine the kind of stress that brings into your life if that's how you approach life? Wouldn't you rather be free? I think I would. I know I would. And that's what I've been working on in my life, to be free of this idea that my brain is in charge. It's very limited. My heart is in charge, and I would encourage you to bring to give the job of who's in charge in your life to your heart rather than your head, and you will flow. Flow brings ease and grace and abundance into your life. It brings you the highest available timeline, meaning where your higher self would lead you if you were completely conscious in each moment. The road of grace and beauty and flow. So less suffering, more ease. So when you stop projecting your suffering into the external world and instead surrender your fears, allowing your heart to take the driver's seat, you allow your internal guidance system to take over. You weren't meant to do all this with your mind. You can have a far superior experience if you just let go and surrender to your heart. And you create flow, and flow leads to ease and abundance, as I've just said. So let's bring a new way of being into our experience where we no longer are externalizing our fears. We can take back full responsibility and create power and love, and like Bugs Bunny, resilience and flexibility. Like water, as they would say in Taoism, be like water and you'll be shown the way. You will go easily and effortlessly around obstacles. You'll no longer take the energy on of any external obstacle. It will not become a story or a narrative in your experience, and you will not take on that energy, and you will not manifest that problem physically into your experience any longer. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Well, I can attest this is beautiful. It works. And I'm learning how to do it more and more each day. It's very freeing. So if I can leave you with anything today, it's just let go. Move into your heart. Put your hands on your heart more often. Bring your conscious awareness to this place, to this powerful place in you. So that you move out of your monkey mind, you stop externalizing things, and you create a new external world around you. So I hope this has been inspiring for you. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share. And have a beautiful day. See ya.